Happy Sunday morning to everyone. I'm Bobby Burton, joined by CJ Vogel. This is a little Sunday roundup brought to you by our friends at Allegiant Digital Marketing. We appreciate them. CJ, you were out at DKR all day yesterday following recruiting. And then before they got there and then after they got there and had their meetings with coaches, of course, there was also a big scrimmage yesterday that you and I were both following, although we can't go see it. The media is not open to the scrimmage. We actually talked to a lot of people that did attend, got some news and notes for people to pass along. That's what I want to do here this morning. You and Jerry will come back and talk a little bit more about the recruiting. But before we even move to the big pieces of the scrimmage, give us a slight overview of what happened from a recruiting perspective on Saturday.
Well, besides me, ending up with a nice little red face from the sun yesterday, the big day belonged to Kyle Flood, both on the field and in the recruiting aspect of the visit on Saturday. Listen, when you were able to get Jackson Christian on campus Saturday afternoon for the scrimmage, afterward to hang out with the staff, and then schedule a Tuesday return, that kind of alerts some bells and whistles there for you. Of course, the talented Port Neches Groves offensive lineman will be back on campus Tuesday to watch Texas practice again, practice number 13 on Tuesday. So something interesting to keep an eye on. Of course, the 2026 offensive line class. I think we got a really good idea of what Kyle Flood is looking for with this group. Of course, John Turntine of North Crowley is probably the prize of the group out of the state of Texas. He's that guy. He did not make it to campus today, but a number of guys did that we should be monitoring very closely. Felix Ojo out of Mansfield Lake Ridge on campus. Brett Collegier, an intriguing offensive line prospect, interior guy out of IMG Academy, who mentioned being able to watch Jordan Johnson-Rubel and Jarrett Gibson, and Toa Katoa, who, Bobby, 366 pounds has never looked so good than on Toa Katoa. So Kyle Flood, big day for him with his first unit on the offensive side of the ball, and then, of course, off the field in the Moncrief facility, being able to work all these guys behind the scenes, starting the pipeline really early there, as well as Jordan Caraway, who I should mention, 2027 Forney offensive lineman, looked really good today as well.
All right, let's go. Let's talk a little bit. You and Jerry are going to go in more depth. Also, you had a terrific video last night that you posted of interviews with the guys, etc. Folks can also get more on ontexasfootball.com. Y'all posted some interviews there that have some specific quotes, as well as a few tidbits on guys like Jackson Christian. But before we move on to the scrimmage, I want to say thank you to our sponsor. That is Allegiant Digital Marketing. We really appreciate Chad Markham and his fellows there at Allegiant Digital Marketing. They just do a terrific job. Chad actually is a 25-year veteran, as well as the founder of Allegiant Digital Marketing and the CEO. He's a UT grad and the instructor of the Digital Marketing Boot Camp at UT Austin. He's helped thousands of businesses overcome challenges like finding new customers, consistent leads, finding marketing services to promote your business that actually work. He literally is one of those guys you want to point to and use if you are trying to grow your business and want to try to do that. He actually has a special going on right now. You can save up to $2,500 in advertising by visiting www.allegiantdigital.com/ontexasfootball with Allegiant Digital Marketing. We appreciate their sponsorship. All right, let's talk some scrimmage. Get into it, CJ. Let's start with the quarterbacks, okay? Because I think that's a lot of people want to hear it. I heard Quinn Ewers looked as good as he's looked, even though it wasn't a quote-unquote dominating day from him and the receivers. Ewers looked exceptionally sharp from a couple of different people I talked to.
Yeah, it's been a continual theme so far for Quinn this spring, keeping the ball away from the defense's hands and, putting the guys in position to make plays. And while there were some plays not necessarily made, I wouldn't put that towards the fault of Quinn Ewers on Saturday. Again, what I was able to hear, just very calm and composed. That's kind of the recurring theme. This is something that we've heard from Quinn dating all the way back to his days at South Lake Carroll. That's kind of just the demeanor that he is. And I think right now with the kind of the protection that he's receiving from this offensive line up front, I mean, it's kind of just sitting back, patting the football and putting it where he needs to put it right now. Saturday was another good day throwing the football. He impressed a lot of guys that we talked to coming out of the facility yesterday. Actually mentioned, Quinn again, it feels like he's taking that step that you would expect him to take going into year 3 in the same system. Right now, it was a really strong day for Quinn Ewers.
Yeah, I want to say this. I mean, we're going to go to the wide receivers next. I've heard so first of all, before we talk about the wide receivers, we need to talk about Arch Manning too.
Yes.
But with Ewers, I think that what everybody keeps telling me is that he's putting in the ball in the right places on the right time. He just didn't get much help in the passing game, other than maybe a couple guys. But I was told that the Longhorns really didn't come down with many contested catches on Saturday. So that's something to watch at the receiver group. And we'll talk about them, particularly one young man that we heard did have a good practice. Let's go back to Arch Manning, though. Look, I heard that he had a tough go of it. Why did he have a tough go of it, in your opinion, CJ, from what you heard?
Well, I mean, it's going to be tough anytime you have a second team unit blocking for you, having to go against Trey Moore and Colin Simmons. That's going to lead to some disruption with that pocket and what you would hope to be some time for Arch Manning to deliver the football. Arch did not have a great day, and some of it was on him. Some of it was on the offensive line. The early interception to Malik Muhammad, more so on Arch Manning, I was told, than anything else. But later on in the day, there just wasn't much of a rhythm for Arch to kind of create some momentum for him on the offensive side of the ball. He was consistently being flushed out of the pocket. There wasn't much time for him, at least from what I was able to hear, to sit back, evaluate things, and go from read 1 to 2 and continue his progressions. He did get some run with the top unit on the offensive line, and he did move the football with that group, which I think you would expect him to do so with some guys that can, consistently provide some cover for him. But right now, Arch a little bit more on the run, a little bit frantic, I would say, in that pocket because of the pressure coming off the edges. And I did hear Sadir Mitchell and Jure Bledsoe had some pressure up on the interior. I'm not sure whether or not that was Hayden Connor Robertson, or even Daniel Cruz playing that center spot. But I did hear it interiorly. There's pressure there as well. Yeah,
so basically what we're saying is the second team offensive line sounds like they may have gotten overwhelmed at times against the second team defensive line on Saturday. That's kind of where it goes. You mentioned Jure Bledsoe and Sadir Mitchell. I was told that not many interior guys made many plays at all. So if they actually did, that counters a little bit to what I was told. I did hear that both Colin Simmons and Trey Moore had made some plays, particularly pointing out Colin Simmons.
Yes.
Just athleticism and quickness are elite traits for him. And then he's also got really long arms. I was told that one onlooker was like, okay, that's going to be a dude long term. Now, is he going to be there this year? We don't know, but it's looking more and more like he might be earning himself some playing time sooner rather than later if he keeps this up, because they're going to need people getting after the passer. Because frankly, the first team unit I was told gave Quinn a clean pocket all game long. That means Ethan Burke and Barron Sorrell not necessarily getting after the quarterback when they're going up against Cam Williams and Kelvin Banks. All right, so this is where we get to that zero-sum game. Which guys are playing better, et cetera. We don't know. How good is the Texas offensive front? We'll figure that out as we go. I do want to say this. The Texas run game was working early and often against the first-team defense, which I think a lot of people would say, oh, well, that's because the offensive line is so good. Well, I was told that on one situation that there was like a 1st and goal from the 2, and Texas ran an inside zone, and the offense and the back went in untouched. Both defensive tackles just got completely moved, and that just was one of those things where you're like, ooh, offensive line really dominated. You could say they dominated, or the defensive line didn't dominate. It didn't do their job. It's which came first, chicken or the egg, really, right? But my point is, look, they're going to be in there. All right, let's go back to wide receivers. You and I talked about this off camera. We both heard that the first 3 receivers were Isaiah Bond, Jonte Cook, and then DeAndre Moore as the starters. You and I both heard that. What did you hear in particular about the receivers that gave? Well, I said that they didn't make many contested catches based on what I heard. What did you hear about the receivers? Because slightly different.
Yeah, Listen, it's interesting with this group because I think coming in, you expect the explosiveness, you expect the speed, but I think a little bit was taken for granted a year ago with a guy like A.D. Mitchell, Jordan Whittington, and even to some extent Xavier Worthy with their ability to go up and make the contested catches. I think Jatavian Sanders is going to be – that's where you feel his absence the most in 2024. A guy that might not create a whole lot of separation, but when the ball's in his vicinity, he'll come down with it. We saw that time and time again. Right now, I think you're still trying to figure out who that guy will be, who your go-to third down option is going to be. When the ball is up in the air, he will go make the play. I'm not saying Texas doesn't have that. I'm just saying so far, I'm not hearing that name thrown out very often. I will say, however, and I've been called out for being maybe a little negative, a little bit down on this player, but Jonte Cook had a great day on Saturday. He had the first touchdown of the afternoon. I was told by a source, listen, this is the most we've expected him to look, or he played to what we expected him to look for the first time this spring on Saturday. That's a healthy, I mean, that's a big statement there. But to Jonte's credit, and there's a little bit of noise the week leading up to the scrimmage about Jonte, and should you be looking at him like a spot might be taken from him? He came out and he answered, and I wanted to tip my cap because that's what you would hope to see from a guy looking to go fend off some newcomers, some guys that weren't on campus a year ago for a spot he believes to be his. And right now, Jonte had a good Saturday, and it's that good momentum going into the spring game could really make a difference going into the summer and then in the fall camp. So Jonte Cook, really big day on Saturday. He was the one standout I was told about on the offensive side of the ball from the receiver position.
Yeah, I'll tell you another guy that I was told that had another good spring scrimmage or another good day at the office is Jaden Blue.
Yeah.
I tell you what, one person told me that's the guy on that offense that would scare me. And so that's really saying a lot. A guy that a year and a half ago, we wouldn't even be talking about him. Texas apparently ran a lot of two running back packages. They do that. Sark runs all of these packages, but Blue lined up all over the place in it. And I'm just told that he's just one of those guys that when he gets the ball in his hands, you don't know what's going to happen. But for the offense, it's usually good, which is a good thing for the Longhorns.
Yeah, you can't hate that at all. I mean, Jaden Blue, we know about the speed. We know how electric he is with the ball in his hands. But to consistently hear how he's been maneuvering through the tackles, very encouraging. That's kind of the next step for him, of course. He's added weight, probably play around 205, 206 in the fall. Was listed at 198 whenever the spring roster came out. You're starting to see a new element to his game. And as long as the speed maintains, you're going to see a very dynamic back. He scored another touchdown today. He, of course, had a big play a week ago in which he kind of took David Binda and Derek Williams for a ride going into the end zone. So to hear this consistently about Jaden Blue, you're starting to feel very comfortable about the 1-2 punch you'll see with him and CJ Baxter, who both have said now that they're working together to become closer off the field so that when it's time for either of them to give each other a breather, there's no drop off in play. That's something that, again, you'll hear consistently throughout this Texas locker room. And right now that running back spot looking very good at the moment.
Yeah, good stuff, CJ. All right, I want to talk about defensive playmakers outside of Trey Moore and Colin Simmons that we heard of. But first, I want to say thank you once more to our sponsor of this roundup, that is Allegiant Digital Marketing. Are you a business owner who struggles with any of the following? Finding new customers, consistent leads, finding marketing services to promote your business that actually work? Founder and CEO Chad Markham with Allegiant Digital Marketing, an Austin-based advertising agency, has helped thousands of business owners just like you for over 25 years conquer these same challenges. So if you're ready to start making money in your business and grow with confidence, visit allegiantdigital.com/ontexasfootball and get a free marketing plan. Plus, you can save up to $2,500 in advertising with their Hook 'em Horns special today. Thanks again to Chad and his crew at Allegiant Digital Marketing. Really appreciate them. All right, CJ, let's talk about playmakers on defense. We talked Colin Simmons. We talked Trey Moore. They've kind of both been a little bit of the talk of the last half of the spring, to be honest, on defense, right? The other guys that you heard of today are similar to the ones I did. You mentioned Manny Muhammad's interception, right, of Arch Manning. That happened early in practice. I heard Jalen Gilbo had a good day. I heard Anthony Hill had a good day. Are those the three guys that had made plays outside of the two rush guys today?
Yeah, I'll even throw one more name in there, David Benda. And again, for the second consecutive weekend, I've heard a lot about him kind of be flying around the field. That's kind of how he's been described to me so far this spring. Not necessarily that he's making every play, but he's around the ball. And he has that speed that I think is a very underrated aspect of his game that allows him to get sideline to sideline in the middle of the field. He was mentioned today as well. Of course, we know about Manny Muhammad's interception. He's probably the most consistent defensive back that you'll see right now, which I've been told that group as a whole, whether it be the corners, the nickel, and the safety, that group in its entirety right now is probably without a question of a doubt, the strength of the defense on that for Texas at the moment. Terrence Brooks had some good moments. Again, it's finding that consistency for him. But Jalen Gilbo, and I think Sarkisian kind of showed his cards a little bit on Tuesday during the media availability, just saying, yeah, he's back. Like, he's the guy that we expected him to be, and he's showing it right now. He made a number of plays today. He was singled out by a few recruits as well, saying, yeah, this is the guy that we noticed as well. We saw him flying around the football field rather often today. So those three, of course, and I think Texas is going to be very pleased with their linebacking duo. I was a big I don't want to say Debbie Downer on David Benda, but I question what he would be able to provide in the passing game and the run game. So far, I've heard nothing but positives when it comes to the super senior on campus so far.
Yeah, it's okay to be a skeptic as long as you're an honest one, right?
Right.
So when you actually see something that or hear about some things that are good, then you need to pass those on. So it's okay. I mean, we all have to have a healthy dose of it. Otherwise, we're just complete homers and think Texas is going to be 12-0 every year, and we know that's not reality, right? But that's good to hear about David Benda because again, to your point, Sark has been very high on him, been very high on Jalen Gilbo this spring as well. Manny Muhammad, just tremendous. Anthony Hill, the word that I got is he's just cut differently. Yeah. That's kind of speaks for itself a little bit, I think. So good stuff overall. All right, let's talk about the entire scrimmage and what you heard. What do you think? We've talked about this, but what do you think the main takeaways are from the scrimmage for you?
One, it's the offense for the most part is protecting the football. I think there was a fumble last week. There's an interception this week, but for the most part, I think they're doing a good job, specifically with the first unit. Quinn Ewers has not turned the ball over so far. That's been a consistent theme this spring where he's done a very good job of putting the ball in a right place where it's not in danger. He didn't do that very often last year, and I think that's a very valuable trait for Quinn Ewers. The job of the quarterback is to put the team in position to score the football and also not turn the football over. We know Quinn can do both. Right now, we're seeing it very consistently. But also, I think the defense gets out to pretty strong starts in these scrimmages. I'm not sure what entirely the reason is, but for the second consecutive weekend, Bobby, I've been told that, yeah, the offense in the latter half of the scrimmage just kind of turns it on. And one recruit joked with me a week ago. He's like, yeah, I think Sark had enough of what was going on with the defense. He wanted to see the ball in the end zone. So he started, going deeper into his bag and seeing what he could pull out and start moving the ball that way. Whether that's the case or not, I've been told again for a second consecutive week that the offense later, as the scrimmage continues, they find a way to move the football more consistently. Maybe that's just the levels in the trenches. We see that time and time again as games wear on, the more talented and endurance, offense or defensive line, they start to have their way with the opponents. Maybe that's the case, but that's kind of been the theme that we've heard so far, and it would not surprise me to see that again in the spring game next week.
I think that the takeaways for me for this, you mentioned protecting the ball. I think protecting the passer has been big, particularly from the first unit. The issues on the first team defensive line, interior, and even the second team against the run is a common theme that I think I've heard a couple of different weeks. And then I would just say that the bigger takeaway is this, Texas is replacing two potential first-round draft picks at wide receiver.
Yes.
Xavier Worthy and Adonai Mitchell. There is no doubt in my mind that Texas has good receivers on campus. But do they have elite receivers on campus? Is Isaiah Bond elite? Is he as good as now? Some people have him going in the mid to late first round from his time at Alabama, but is he as good as Xavier Worthy? I don't know. Who's as good as Adonai Mitchell on this team? Probably nobody. They don't have that. Or if it is, it may be a young Ryan Wingo who I was told again on Saturday, not quite ready to go full bore. He's a good player. He's going to be great, actually, but may not be all the way there yet from knowing the plays and getting in the offense, etc. So I would say the takeaway there is it's going to be a good wide receiver core. Is it going to be a great one? They need to make more contested catches and help their quarterback a little bit more, is what I'm being told.
I'm with you. It's one of those things where you don't want to look back and say that you took Xavier Worthy, Jordan Whittington, JT, and AD for granted. But, kind of that theme that we were hearing was that Texas might be in a better shape with the guys that they have on campus, maybe from a speed perspective. But I think right now we're seeing just how valuable those guys were a year ago. It's not to say that eventually down the road those guys might not reach the same ceiling or something similar. I think it was a little bit more of an honest look in the mirror and saying, okay, we've got talent, we've got some pieces, but we've got to see that consistency flash before we start saying it in the same breath as what we saw a year ago, at least right now. And that, again, we could see the spring game next week, Bobby, and they light the world on fire. You never know. We know we've got talent, but we've got to see it more consistently here.
Yep, absolutely. All right, CJ, that's going to do it. Sunday morning conversation. My name's Bobby Burton. He's CJ Vogel. You can reach us at ontexasfootball.com. Right now, we have a special going on for new subscribers. If you'd like to subscribe, just $39.95 annually. If you use the promo code OTFOG, a lot of the scrimmage notes as well as recruiting news on the site on ontexasfootball.com. CJ, appreciate you, buddy. Thank you also to Allegiant Digital Marketing. And until later today, welcome everybody.